Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, head of NRL Supercoach Round 9. Proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. The Easter weekend is in the bag. The Anzac round is in the bag. We move our attention towards Magic Round, one of the great 3-week stretches of footy in a row. It's a great time to be a rugby league fan. Here to talk through it with us, the SC Spy. Spy, how are you?
Timo, going well, mate. Just fresh from a little trip back to hometown Cooma. So freshened up, good for the soul, and ready to rock, obviously, this weekend. Goes without saying.
Mate, I heard you, for the first time in your life, got out of our brother's shadow. Sam's at the Raiders game on the weekend. Talk to us.
Yeah, a little changing of the guard moment. We were sitting outside sort of near the dressing sheds where the fans get autographs from the players. It's a good little setup there down at Canberra Stadium, or Bruce Stadium as it should be known as. And anyway, we're sitting there, me, Sambo, a few of the family. And someone just yells out, "Got us get a photo, mate." So we just all assumed it. Yeah, Sam, Raiders, we'll call him a mini legend, won him a finals match. But nah, wanted the Spy.
The Spy.
So I was like, no worries, mate. Looked over it. I can't remember his name. We had a good chat. I think he'll be in Brisbane this weekend. But yeah, just looked across at Sam, gave him a little wink, and went from there.
So move over, chum.
On his hallowed ground.
Yeah,
just
on
getting
his
the
home
nod.
ground.
It would be different if it was in Sydney or something, but on the hallowed turf of Canberra Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely love to hear that.
Yeah,
move on, Sam.
That was pretty funny.
The golden child has been demoted.
Done.
Also with us today, as always, Matty, the Waterboy, who's up and about after another big week. How are you, mate?
I'm good. It's been a week of, for the first time in my life, a week of good decisions just throughout a whole weekend, whether it comes from, the big one was the captaincy loop that I've never actually tried before, but I managed to pull it off this weekend with Payne Haas. I actually decided I was going to do it when Haas was on like 115 at the time. He got upgraded, but at the time he was on 115 or 113. I was at the Rabbitohs game and it was pissing down rain, and I was looking at Jerome Hughes and I was just thinking, mate, and I had Cleary as captain. I was like, mate, just take the points. Just take the points. I was just imagining him being Cleary in the wet, and it was kind of like a weird moment for me where I was thinking about my Supercoach team rather than my actual team that was actually playing. So, yeah, quite an interesting weekend for myself.
You've taken Supercoach with both hands this year, and it's reflecting in your scores. Mate, shout out from an SC Playbook subscriber, long-term Grizza McKenzie. He told me to let you know that he was very grateful that his bloke jersey that he bought during the week, bought it, delivered over to New Zealand within 6 days. He's absolutely ecstatic about it. He said, "Thank Matty, the Waterboy." Is that your good work, or is it not?
Oh, yes, I did. So he sent me an email because shipping usually takes anywhere in Australia a few days, but there's always, not always, but like obviously when you take it overseas, there can be like customs, there could just be problems anywhere. And he wanted it for Magic Round, I'm pretty sure. And obviously we were a day late to drop because of the public holiday. So I think he might have DM'd me or whatever he did. He might have emailed me, and yeah, I got onto the warehouse and I gave him the order number and said, prioritise this order, and got there nice and quick.
There's a picture he sent me of the SC Playbook website up. He was having a scroll, working out his team with the brand new bloke jump. So Grizza is absolutely stoked with that one, mate.
Nice, Grizza.
Spy, how's your side going?
You know what? While I pulled this up, I've just seen my draft scores on the right-hand column. I sadly haven't given as much focus to draft this year as I'd like to, but I did go in one of Physio's leagues and just pick only players I love. And I've knocked up 1,000 against, I'm pretty sure it's Benny, our subscriber, who gave me a shout out on Twitter a couple of weeks ago in another league I'm in, because I'm in 2, where he dusted me up. Not a word about my ton. So
that's more than your classic score, mate.
It's pretty tight. So, just want to right that wrong. And if it's another Ben, then apologies, disregard. Back to the real thing, though. Classic 1,312. Good solid weekend. Cleary let me down as skipper. 54, not great. I was very close to going May again and just chased that Cleary upside, but just didn't really happen, did he? He had a 40-20 that didn't quite count because the bloke ran it out. Penrith just got done again. So disappointing there. Definitely time to reassess a little bit on Cleary captaincy, just very up and down. But not a bad week. Got myself into, I'm sitting at 11K at the moment and 300 points outside the top 1,000. So I'm still that really good week away from just being on the cusp of the top 1,000. But I need it. I want it to come sooner rather than later. I don't want to go into the guys waiting for it.
You get to a point where I think I did the same last year and it never really eventuated, where you're sitting on happy with my team, things are moving well, and then you just sort of, as each week goes by, you go,
I need some
would like
action
it to start happening though.
Yeah. The boys are going pretty well, but I just want that real breakout week. So if there's ever a weekend for it, let's bring it. Brizzy.
Yeah. Kuma Stallions, mate, 1,491 points. We're into 900th overall. Yeah.
Wow.
Up and about.
Round of applause.
And couldn't be happy about it going into Magic Round as well. Dribblers all over the place. We'll be having beers and yarning. So much better doing it in 900th than 20,000th. So
yeah, just setting up a throne at the Caxton now on the back of that score, and they can just come up to you and have a chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
As long as there's not 899 people there ranked above me who get preference to the throne, we'll get that throne going.
Funny story. Because I got my first 1,400 this week, which I was very happy with. I just unshamingly posted it on my Instagram story with no caption. But I was getting ready to gloat to Timmy about it. And then as I was halfway through the message, I thought, I better check what Timmy scored just in case he beat me. Not only did he beat me, he beat me by almost 100 points. So, yeah, wow. What a big score.
Another good decision made, though, mate.
Yeah, I know. Can't stop.
Things right.
Yeah.
I'm wasting all my good decisions, unfortunately. Magic Round's around the corner. This is not going to be a good weekend.
You're up to 6,000 or 7,000, Matty?
I'm in the 5s now. So I was hovering around the 6s for a while, and then I had a bad week, or an average week last week, dropped down to 9, and now back into the 5s.
You've made a move.
Yeah.
You've made a move.
I'm happy.
Yeah, my big one was decided to put brought Scott Drinkwater in with my 4th boost. So I've gone a little bit aggressive there for Isaiah Iongi, captain Drinky over Nathan Cleary. So, yeah, whatever idiot said captain should be worth 1.5, tell them they're dreaming.
Yeah, scrap that.
Idiots.
Except last weekend, I'll have it. Just quickly, Matty, speaking of decisions, what footwear are you meant to wear to Magic Round? And do you know why I'm asking that?
I know exactly why you're asking that, Spy. Because, I'll lead us off here, I guess, but I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. What day would you reckon it was last year?
It's Friday.
Okay, it was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday.
So it's pretty loose up in Brisbane, as we all know, like around Caxton Street. And
Good loose.
Oh, good loose. As in like, you know.
Everyone's up and about.
Free, relaxed, whatever.
Mate, if you sneeze in New South Wales, you get kicked out of a pub. It's insane. But yeah, up in Queensland, it's just the vibe's a bit better up there. I'm happy to admit that. It's the best vibe ever. But yeah, Spy was possibly the first person in the history of Queensland to not get let into a pub because he was wearing thongs, which I found remarkable, to be honest.
So it was like 3 a.m. I probably need to go home, but I was also fired up for just a couple more.
I left that detail out on purpose. Yeah.
Just wanted one quiet, settling whiskey, talk bunnies and whatnot. And what did happen, though, I remember this quite clearly. As soon as the bouncer said it, I was just filthy, turned around. I don't know if I said it to him or to you in his vicinity, but I was like, he just cost Queensland Origin.
And
this will be our year, and we know it happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I might do the exact same thing.
History tells the story.
Yeah.
Guys, Magic Round is approaching this weekend. If you haven't caught that memo, the SC Playbook meetup, 3 p.m. in the Caxton Hotel car park. Come along and say g'day to the SC Playbook team that are around and to the other members of our great community. I'll be there, Spy, Clementine, Desi Creek, Rando, Matty the Waterboy, Nick Moon, our weekly rap man, probably the pick of the lot, I'd say, Spy.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, we'll get him up there as well. At the very least, that is the crew that'll be along for that one. So pop in, say g'day. We'll be there from 3 o'clock onwards, probably through till, 12's going to the footy, 6 o'clock, otherwise the rest of the night. So pop into that one. On today's show, guys, Team List Tuesday, Supercoach pointers, mixed news for a host of cheapies, mostly bad news on the cheapie front for the most part. Vice-captaincy loopholing. Matty mentioned it at the top of the show, but we'll be explaining it for those that are still a bit unsure of how it works, the vice-captaincy loophole. It's a vitally important part of Supercoach. We'll be explaining it for those people and also discussing how the numbers to loop have dropped this year since the introduction of the flex. We have a good sample size and it has changed dramatically. Hot topics for the week, looking at Drinkwater versus Tedesco. Who is the better buy? Our round 9 trades and skippers. Listener questions, hold or sell Gutho, hold or sell Ponga. Eli Katoa, Jerome Hughes, the Melbourne Storm with the 2 major buy rounds. First 2, they're on the buy there. Are they still good buys? All of that coming up later in the show. Our Unlimited League leader team is called Nick, coached by Jesse, is into first overall. Currently we have the top... What are we? We've got 16 of the top 18 now. Changes a little bit every week, but we are absolutely flying there. The Supreme team, coached by Jason, topped the week with 1,642 points, also into 50th overall. Jason, So, guys, if you're following along on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever it is, leave us a comment, like and subscribe to our channel. It does us absolute wonders. And for less than $2 a week, you can subscribe to the SC Playbook Premium offering and support SC Playbook. Get you a ton of extra content and offerings across our network. For more details and to subscribe, head to the menu at scplaybook.com.au and hit subscribe. Lucky last spy. I know you're chomping at the bit over there. Our WhatsApp group, if you're sitting there and you've subscribed and you've requested for the WhatsApp group and you haven't been let in, it's because they are full. I check them every day and I accept the new request each and every day, a couple of times a day actually. There are duplicate groups in there. So if there's one you're waiting on and you haven't got let in yet, check if it says full or not in the title. And there's a number 2 group which has the exact same information in it. Request the number 2 group and I'll get you in ASAP. Spy, you look ready to say something.
Very good. Yeah, so it's not that I'm impatient. I just forget stuff real easily. So sometimes I think of something that I think's good, I'm like, quick. But no, not that huge, but just another little magic round comment. Got this message yesterday.
This want to be good.
No, you'll like this. I got this message from, it just said in my messages, Parker Magic Round, and it's the bloke got the train up last year from the Goldie to Brisbane for Magic Round. We had a yarn, exchanged numbers, became mates. His mate is the guy that's coming first this week. He's just let me know.
Oh,
I'm
no
like, how
way.
good's that? Like, just that Supercoach community. And he's a bloody good fella as well. I'm like, love that. Just the bloke I was on the train with, his mate's now first.
Wow.
That was worth interrupting.
Worth it?
The podcast.
I thought it was going to be a rereference to one of the expert leagues and you took on Corey Parker on the weekend and knocked him off for his blistering 600 points.
Nah.
Had him covered.
Much better than that.
Much better than
please.
that. Guys, team list Tuesday. Kyle Iro changed his name to KL Iro. So, yeah.
I did see that in the team list.
Yeah.
I was like, have they made a mistake? No.
No, they haven't. He's changed his name.
Okay.
Mawene,
That's I actually researched it. It's his birth name, but his mum didn't like it for some reason. So she didn't let them leave the hospital until they changed it to Kale. They just spelled it KL. But the dad apparently has been putting KL letters on official documents for years.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's for his dad.
there you go. Very cool. Mawene Hiroti out at the expense of Iro. A big blow, Spy, for owners there because he was playing some great footy. Look, he may have dropped out this week anyway for Iro. Owners were hoping that maybe he kept a spot over Stone Street. I don't think he was going to. Made about 140Ks, injured, sell.
Yeah, I think Sell's on the cards and disappointing for owners in that he just didn't get that full game. Points likely playing him plus cash, but I mean, as far as injuries go, you can probably cop that one over many others. So carry on.
He's made a bit of cash. He was a sell at some point anyway, but yeah, a bit premature, unfortunately, for owners there. Big bad Charlie Geimer starting on the edge at the Parramatta Eels. Kelma Tuolangi is suspended. I'm still a Charlie Geimer owner, Spy. I'm not thrilled about it, but to see him starting on the edge, he's due for something.
Yeah, well, I mean, we like him.
We do like
but
him.
I think we like him from the middle last year from memory. So
I
anyway, if you
I
own
like him when he's on the field and scoring points.
That's always good. But good for you. See what happens.
Yep.
Free swing.
Felice Kavusi, Jeremy Marshall, King, Kurt Donohoe all return for the Dolphins. Maxi Plath not named once again. At the Rabbitohs, Latrell Mitchell suspended, Jai Gray to fullback, Jack White into 5'8", all sorts of things going on there at the Rabbitohs once again. Adam Elliott and Daniel Saifidi return at the Knights. Spy Thomas Cant has been dropped as a result of this, not from the bench from the team entirely. He's out of the starting 17-18 extended squad. He's the most traded out player this week as it stands at 421K. He's made 147 grand, so a bit less than what owners were probably hoping. Most people did jump on. He's got a 48 break even. I'll say two things about this. I don't mind that he's dropped out entirely because if there's an injury to either of the edge-back rowers, he could be an 80-minute edge-back rower again. So it doesn't make him an urgent sell, but he does remain a sell regardless. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I own him. I also a bit biased because I love him.
Yeah.
The fact he won't lose cash is huge. As you said, if any of those edge-back rows go around in the next couple of weeks, we could have the ultimate buy player. So I won't be forcing him out too quickly unless it's to make a real genuine upgrade, in which case have to do it.
He's a trade, but he's not necessarily a priority trade if you've got other headaches as a result. It could turn out okay, depending on what happens there.
Dylan Lucas also just back from a hammy, so I mean, I wouldn't force him out this week unless it's really worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sione Finau, before that one, Tamari Martin named on the bench for the Warriors. Good news for Aaron Clark, who's been in outstanding form. More of that in Spy Talk later on. Leka Halasima also named to start on the edge, where he did start last week come final teams. Sione Finau, a potential popular cheap. He had that runaway try last week, Spy. early on Anzac Day against the Roosters, and he thought he'll be cheapie of the week next week. End up scoring about 30 points. He's actually been dropped, as has Lachlan Ilias. Corey Allen is onto the wing. King Toya is at halfback. Dylan Egan has been named to start again, where he has been playing in recent weeks, but good to see him actually named to start, so keep an eye on that one. Hamish Stewart, the early season cheapie, named to start at lock. Keep an eye on Hamish Stewart's minutes and output this week. David Fifita, named in the number 19 jumper spy.
Oh.
Injury or dropped?
That is interesting because
Yeah.
19 doesn't suggest injury, does it? Could be a little kick up the bum for Davey.
Yeah, so interesting to see what happens there, but would much prefer him find his way onto the bench on game day and play 10 minutes and get bugger all points for a price drop. But just one to monitor. We could get him. I mean, we'll see what happens in coming weeks.
It's on Dylan Egan. There was talk of an injury last week I might have missed. Do you know if he came off for an injury or if someone watching can let us know? Because that's pretty important just in terms of whether I decide to play him my side this week or not. So let us know, please.
I'd be reluctant to play him unless there's confirmation that there was something going on.
I've just got Hamoli not playing this weekend in the back row, so it could just be a little slide in for him. But let us know if you know what happened.
But, well, I mean, it was a blowout margin relatively early on, so I wonder, he'd been playing big minutes. He is early on in his career. Did they just say, mate, play,
Have a spell.
Play 50 minutes or something? Maybe
50,
not even.
so maybe he just didn't come back. Yeah,
which is a chance. So, Matty Burton, Josh Carnes, Satilli Tupinel, all out suspended for the Doggies this week. Bailey Hayward, he'll play 5'8" for them with Burton out. And at the Panthers, Casey McLean dropped. Luke Garner to play centre. Spy, topic for the show. Vice-captaincy loopholing. Never ceases, I mean this in the best way possible, but never ceases to amaze me how many people, not first-timers or even second years, because there's a bit to it, but people have been playing for a few years who haven't got their head around the vice-captaincy loopholing, and we speak about it all the time. So we're going to do two things. We're going to talk about what it is, how to do it, and then, you know, for the more experienced super coaches out there, how the bar has dropped and how the number has dropped this year to implement the vice-captaincy loophole because of the flex rule, which it has quite a bit. But first and foremost, Spy, what is vice-captaincy loopholing for the newer players to the game out there?
I must admit, even though I've talked about it for years, because we don't do it often, it's probably a case of when you go to do it, you go, ooh, better just make sure I've got this one right here. Basically what it is, the scenario would be your vice-captain scores, it goes well. Let's just say, for the sake of this argument, your vice-captain scores 160 and you go, oh, how good's this? I want to take that as my captain. So you have to figure out how to double that. What you would do in that instance, if you had the vice-captain or the VC on the player that scored 160-odd, you bring someone in off your bench who isn't playing, put the captain on them. That's the simple part. So because that bloke not playing, so you just want to make sure he's not playing, ideally on the bye or to someone who's definitely not going to play. They won't play, so your vice-captain doubles, gets 160 times 2. Thanks for coming, 320 points.
In this week's circumstance, or an example from this weekend would be you put the vice-captaincy on Nico Hines. He scores 140 points in the first game of the round. You've got Homole Olaquata, who's on the bye this week. He's on your extended bench. Bring him into your starting team. Put the captaincy on him. When Supercoach registers that, they'll see, all right, Olaquata not playing, you don't have a captain, your vice-captain doubles.
Yeah, it'll actually immediately double in the app if he's on the bye, because they know he's not playing. Where am I up to here?
So once you've done that, Spy, and you've put the non-playing player into your team, Homole's into your team, you've captained him, what happens now?
He's doubled, what happens next? Okay, so...
It's not all sunshine and roses.
It's not all sunny, shine and roses.
Not sunny shine.
Yeah, just whatever. You have to drop someone off your playing bench. So if I bring up my side here, I would bring Hamoli in and put, for example, Corey Horsburgh back to my bench. Because Corey goes back to your playing bench, that means someone of your original 4 has to drop out. So that's important. If you're having to drop out someone like, someone who's very, very good, that makes it risky because you then risk missing out on their score. But if it's a weekend where you're just dropping out someone, who might get you 50, it's perfect because it's low risk. But someone's going to have to drop out of your side once you put that guy back to the bench. Are we on track so far?
Yep, we're on track. So another example of my team Spy. If I were to do it this week, I've got Ruben Garrick. I used to Hamole as an example before, but I have currently playing in my team 2 weak links in my side of Billy Smith and Rob Toya. I would happily drop one of those 2 out because I'm not convinced they score well as it is, and I would put Garrick in and captain him. So then I would lose the potential score of, say, Robert Toya. bit different later on in the year when we've got all this money and all these guns in our team, and when you're dropping a player, you might be dropping someone like Munster or Ruben Garrick, and that's when it's a little bit more concerning, but continue.
Yeah, and that's basically where we're at. What then happens is, because there's a 0 on your side with Hamoli Olakawatu in this case, you'll automatically get, which is an AE, automatic emergency, the lowest score off your non-playing bench. So that could be a 7, could be a 60, we don't know. But generally there's someone who probably won't score that well. They will just come automatically into your side. Now what changes this year is, last year we just had to deal with that score. We knew it was going to be a crappy score most instances, but this year the lowest score from your side drops out. So there's every chance that will drop out anyway, which
that happens
lowers because of the flex position.
Of the flex.
Now, don't overthink flex and 18th man and all that. All it is, at the end of the round, you'll have 18 scores. Just imagine you're a computer, and whoever the lowest was just drops out. Forget which position, all that. Just the lowest score drops out. So that's pretty handy because it takes away a lot of risk where you're not having to drop someone who might score 60 and cop a 7. Two things happen out of all this. One, it takes out the VC loophole, takes out the risk of your skipper then getting knocked out early and scoring 10 or 20 or injured or just having a Barry Crocker. But it does remove the chance of, say it's like a Pappenhausen Sunday Arvo and it's a dream matchup at Meehan's. If he scores 220, you don't get it because you're taking away that upside. So that's where the number becomes quite important. If it's 160 or something, no dramas, but that's where our number will become really important. What are we chasing this year?
Yeah. Guys, there is a vice-captaincy loophole calculator on our website. You plug the numbers in here. It's all assumptions because you have to do plug-in numbers from players that haven't happened. It's used to guide your decision. It's not going to be spot on, but it helps make your decision. So, yeah. And like Spy, it might sound a little bit technical. It's not that technical.
Just test it before the week starts.
Yeah.
Just imagine your VC gets 300 to make it easy and just go, what would I do? And actively do it in the app. That's what I tend to do just to make sure it's going to work.
Yeah, but I mean, like the idea is once your VC plays and they score 120 or 130, 140, that's when you sort of go, all right, I've got a ballpark of what it'd be. But in essence, guys, you get a bit of a free crack at getting a second captaincy right. It's not a complete double up. It's not perfect. But yeah, where we get to now, Spy, in recent seasons, I would say that outside of those 3 major buy-ins where there's only 13 players scoring for your team and we're all short on plays and it's easy to do for a whole nother reason we couldn't be bothered getting into right now, we'll stick to the basics. You might use it 2 times in a season, 3 if you've had a great run of it.
It's in previous years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think I was once in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it backfired for you.
Yeah, Pappy literally scored 4 tries. That's why I used the example. Ugh.
Your VC looped Toto. I remember it.
Good times. I didn't till then.
Yeah. Anyway, but in the past, again, it changes every week because based on who the captain you're dropping, who their opposition is, it might be a week where there's not a lot of great captaincy options. You go, yeah, absolutely, I'll double my 120 or 130.
Yeah, because I'm not confident in anyone else that weekend.
But it might be a week where Pappenhausen or a fully fit Tom Trebojevic is playing, let's say last year, bottom of the table, West Tigers, Brookie on a Sunday Arvo, and you just go, okay, to loop, I want 150 sort of thing.
Yep.
But by this year, it has changed. That bar, I would say a rough number that we've used in the past as a guide is 130 to 140. This year, because of the flex coming in, being introduced, and what you mentioned before around, the auto emergency comes in, but it'll more often than not drop out for you anyway, takes a bit of risk out. That number has dropped around the vice-captaincy loophole and what number we need to do it. We've got an 8-week sample size now, Spy, of it. We said earlier on before the season started, just getting a rough idea that, maybe we'll use it 4, 5, 6 times. What do you think that vice-captaincy score needs to be? As a general guide, as we said, it changes week to week to loop each week.
I'm starting to look at it now, 90 to 100. Not saying I'm going to do that.
You think about it.
But if I get 93, I go, okay, who's my skipper? In the case of last weekend, I had it on Pappy. He that binning cost him, but he was looking like scoring around that mark. So if he scored, let's say 93, for example, I would have gone, okay, I don't have to drop anyone overly good out of my side, just the way it worked out. My captain's currently Cleary in the wet. Don't love it. No one else really stood out. Terrell May and Haas had already played. Terrell May would have been a great option, but even he, 93 you'd take from him. But you're locking in that guaranteed 93 from Pappy in this hypothetical. I'm pretty close to doing it on weekends where I don't have a high upside matchup for a fullback or a halfback. It's different if, as you said, fully fit Tom Trbojevic versus the Titans, Sunday over Brookie in the sun. I think then I'm wanting still 120, 110, 120, maybe that 110 mark this year. But that's about where I'm thinking about things this year.
Yeah, lower than I thought you were going to say. No, I'm higher. I'm still like 110 plus. It would have to be a difficult weekend for skippers. Like, we'll get to them shortly, our skippers, but I don't think there's a lot of like red hot options this weekend. The matchups aren't fantastic, obviously depending what players you do own and particularly at the fullback position. But yeah, I'm still probably 110 plus. If they go 100 plus, I'll start to think about it. But sub 100, like, no, boring. But over 100 to 110, I'll think about it. 110 plus, that becomes a very viable move. So
your skippers haven't scored 23 and 52 this year, clearly. So
who was your 23?
Tommy.
No, I had Tommy that
and
week.
Then
he got injured.
had Nath 50.
I did have
this
that
weekend. So again, if I took 93, I'd be way in front.
Yeah.
The other thing before you go on, you can, just the way it works out sometimes, you can wait really late. And I think there was an Easter Monday game, funnily enough, at Easter. And the way it worked out, I knew what my dropout score was going to be by the time that kicked off, which was a blessing in disguise because you know exactly what you're working with because everyone else has played. Other weeks, if you have to make a call early in the weekend, like a Friday night, you have a whole weekend to play out where a lot of variables can happen. So
I was literally watching my team live, and I just kept seeing Hiroti come in, then Royce Hunt came in, then So it was. I knew I was getting a 20 or a 30 there.
I know you mentioned it sort of at the top of the show, Matty, but like you said you'd hardly loopholed before in your life and you did it for the first time on the weekend. Talk us through like how you felt about it. Did you feel safe locking in the Payne Haas, etc.? Like, what were you
I treat it like a cricket match. Like you bat first, you get runs on the board.
Yes.
And I feel safe when I have those runs on the board, no matter what is going to happen. And I thought about it, like even if Cleary did get 140, it still would have burnt me, but it's so unlikely, and it wouldn't have burnt me by that much. If he got 200, then sure, but there's more chance that Cleary was going to get a 50 than get a 200. So, as I said at the start of the show, I was in Amy Park in the rain just thinking, take the points, mate, take the points because you've already got them. So, yeah, that's how that was my thought process.
I like the cricket analogy. It's good. Where I do think it changes later in the year when defences start to fall apart, teams are injury-riddled, then you reassess everything, but that's where I'm at the moment, this current point of the season.
I think it's also important to note out, don't put your captain on an 18th man, because if someone gets knocked out, they can come on the field for 5 or 6 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yes, do not put on an 18th man. And that's not your Supercoach squad, that is an 18th man on the NRL team that day.
Yeah.
And
Matthew is maturing before our eyes.
Yeah. It's beauty to see.
Tear in the eye.
And yeah, like just a few, again, very obvious things that might sound to people, but your vice-captain, guys, has to play before your captain each week if you want to do this. And secondly, before the round, have a look at who your vice-captain is. And if they are to go big, you need someone in your extended squad who is not playing that week, who plays after your vice-captain, who, if you want to do it, you can move into your team and captain them. Because if you have one person in your team that week, you've got no one on the bye who you want to use it with and they've played before your vice-captain, it won't work. So just have a quick look. Doesn't take long.
Just actively test it. I do it each week, or I try to, where I just go, say your VC's Friday at 8 o'clock, whatever, just assume they've done well and just actively do it on the app or your computer and you go, oh yeah, it works, I'm good to go. Sweet.
Spy, part 2 of this captaincy debate. Can't believe I'm saying this. Is it time we start thinking about, for the short term, set and forgetting front row captains? Because Terrell May's just recorded back-to-back tons. He's averaging 88 points this season, back-to-back scores of 118 and 102. He had 77 in base against Cronulla. Now, there was obviously extra minutes played in that game. It was an 89-minute game with extra time. But like Terrell May this season hasn't scored before 69. If you'd captained him every week, you're very happy with yourself. Payne Haas is the other one, of course. Now, he is averaging this season
96.
Seriously. Like, we spoke earlier in the year about when he started to go on a tear that it was before his 140 in round 3. It was just before that week. How I rattled off some stat about the lack of tons he had in big scores in his career. Like, he's just blown that out of the water this year. 300s in his handful of games so far. A 140, 123, that 96 average. I would never say set and forget a skipper for the season because you don't do that and you'll have better matchups at times. But
for the next
short term, you got to think about it, right?
The other thing with Haas, I think someone or yourself mentioned he might have been a Karen and Niggle. That was the one game he scored 50.
Yeah, the one week in 15 years of super coaching that I captained a front row forward, and it was the week he got 51, and apparently he was carrying a bit of a niggle when he was in doubt to play, but he said he wanted to play. I'm like, mad.
Yeah, played 15 less minutes.
He scored under 82 once this season, and it was the week I captained him for 51.
Classic. But yeah, obviously in his healthy games, he's averaging over 100.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's a great option. What I'm going to do starting this weekend, unless there's two cracking options at fullbacks or halfback, whatever it may be, I want to do a vice captain on a half or fullback or upside guy.
Yeah.
Into one of these front rows that don't come off. I think it just makes sense. You get 2 bites at the cherry that way.
You get your crack at your 140, 150.
I think it's a good way to do it. And then if your vice captain doesn't come off, you know you've got Haas or May. Happy days. They do come off, then you're cheering. That's a bit where I'm at.
I like it.
I don't necessarily like doing both front rowers, V, C and C. That does seem a little bit conservative to me.
You want the big upside.
Yeah, I'm not against it, but I just think if there's a few options in here, you can throw the VC on and, you know, they're a big chance.
Yeah, and this weekend could be a good example of a time to do that. So, yeah, Payne, Haas, Terrell, May, the big boys, they're getting it done. Guys, for anyone looking to book an appointment with Mortgage Choice SCW up until the 23rd of May, that time is ticking. A bit over 3 weeks to go. You're going to the draw to win a $25,000 Luxury Escapes voucher. If you've been on the fence thinking about setting up your numbers for the year, I hope not, because we're nearly midway through the year, so get moving. There's no better time than now to get it done, as it could land you that $25,000 holiday. If you're looking to get into the housing market for the first time, but you've got no idea where to start with it, reach out to Paddy and the team to learn more about turning your dream into a reality. Normally, that'd sting you $129, but mention SC Playbook when you reach out, and it's completely free of charge. Flick the team a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW or call them on 02 9521 1611. Doesn't matter where in Australia you are. Paddy will be in the car park with us on Friday afternoon at the Caxton. So if you want to chat numbers there, he'll have a beer in hand and he'll be more than happy to, I dare say. He'll be the short dude in some old retro Manly jersey, so it'll be hard to miss. Spy talk, things you may have missed. Hit us with your
Things
best.
I may have missed, just rolling through a couple this weekend. Firstly, Harry Hayes. Just a plethora of injuries and suspensions at the Dogs. He's available in the second row and the centres. It's worth $420K. He's an absolute workhorse. So if I run through his last 4 weeks, it's 53, 46, 41 and 56 last weekend. They were in almost exactly 40 minutes, but 52 minutes last weekend. It's just a sniff that he might play some extra minutes over the next couple of weeks, maybe into the bye. Not one I'm saying go and get him, he's a must get, but just one to go and check him out if he suits your side. You're taking a little punt that he might get some extra minutes at the Dog. He's just an interesting one there.
I said don't go early because I haven't looked deep into it, but there was a whole heap of sin bins in that game, so their minutes would probably have been inflated, but he's one of them eye test guys, right? He's playing damn good footy, Harry Hayes. The dual 2FC dub. People are looking at Dylan Lucas this week. People are looking at Beau Fermor this week. If you could have 2 or 3 of them and having the ability to interchange them, even if you had like a Fermor Lucas rotation with Harry Hayes there, just the ability to get the 2 big guns where you want them moving through the season. One to monitor, I would not advise going this week. Let's look at his minutes look like with Josh Curran's big one, who's out this week, suspended.
Yeah, and the Doggers have a cracking buy schedule, so over that period, he just might be someone that does a real job over the next 10 weeks.
Break even 38, so you don't need to move this week.
No, you don't have to force into it now, but yeah, 1-2 monitor. Just some chat around Kalen Ponga, all me days. Did look at going to him to Drinky last week. Did like Drinky, but held off. It's funny how it goes. Last year I made a bunch of trades where I was like, I might move them on. They turned up every time. This year I'm like, I'm not trading you, Kalen. 30, 40, 40. So I'm not trading him again because I know it's going to happen as soon as I do it. But what I did look into a little bit throughout this rough patch. So he came out and went 82 and 129. The 129 game was nearly as good as I've ever seen him play.
Yeah.
It was outstanding. The final last year against the Cowboys, he was unbelievable. So there's a little period there like, what has changed? Round 3 against the Titans, the Knights had a shocker. He scored 45 points. They were awful. And it seems to have started this trend of just not playing good footy, no attack. But it is worth noting his last 4 games, where he's averaged about 40, have been against the Bulldogs. They got just murdered defensively. We know what the Bulldogs can do. The West Tigers, who, whilst they're not up the top, they are doing a good job Supercoach-wise this year on fullbacks, I believe. And just generally, they're not that easy to crack through. The Sharks, obviously a decent defensive side. And then the Warriors in a night game where barely anyone has scored a point running or passing the footy night games in New Zealand. So it's been a tricky little patch. So I just tend to think if you've come this far with him, he's now right down, hopefully nearly as low as he can go or around that point.
No, he's got a fight for an average of 41.
Yep.
In that time, he's had one try, which was 5 games back. I think it might have been that Titans game, along with 4 line break assists. There is only major attacking stats in that time. Hasn't made a single line break. Past 3 games, he's averaged 13 runs per game, which is not too bad, but the quality is obviously down there. He peaked at 797k. He's down to 538k. With the draw incoming that the Knights have, again, I've got no faith in them, but like it couldn't be much better. They go the Bunnies, who are depleted themselves.
Sadiavo as well.
Yeah, Titans, Eels.
Both at home. Like, I can't sell him now. We're going to find out now if the Knights and Kalen Ponga have anything in them this year attack-wise, and I'll be along for the ride because he's not going to drop now from 800 to 500. He's already dropped. And if I've lost the money.
If he was carrying an injury niggle or something,
different story.
It's different. But he looks fit.
Yeah, big pre-season, so it just has to click. He's too good for it not to happen.
I'm with you.
And if it doesn't, I'll just put my hands up and say, well, it wasn't to be, and I'll figure it out. I'll cop it on the chin. But excited to see him this Saturday and then back home against the Titans and the Eels. And I'll tell you what, the way he's going, I mean, he may not make Origin. Then we've got the best buy number ever.
That is the thing. If the form continues, we'll have an extra buy number.
I'll hold him again.
I know.
But yeah, he's just an interesting one. And I just wanted to note that 4 pretty tricky matchups, whether it be teams or circumstances. So we're about to find out on the Knights. So fingers crossed there. Aaron Clark, bit of chat around him. He's someone I've always loved eye test wise. He tackles a lot, doesn't miss many. Loves running the footy. He can offload. He can tackle bust. And obviously, Dylan Walker left the Warriors, was it 4 weeks ago? And he seemingly stepped into that void a little bit with minutes rising from the mid-40s. And then he's gone 50-41 against Melbourne, but they got absolutely massacred. So that's a little bit line through it. Then gone 61 and 64 the last 2 weeks. Turned up 108 last weekend with 1 try assist for 20 points, but otherwise it was mostly base. He's someone I really wanted to start the year with, but couldn't trust those minutes. Now he's seemingly got the minutes. Pretty hot on him.
Yeah.
Like
and Tamari Martin named on the extended bench as well. I've got some deeper stats to go for my stat deep dive on beers and break-evens later.
Beautiful.
On. So I'm going to save it for that one and
I will have a listen.
Force people into doing the double. Sorry, guys, but it's just the way this works.
There you go. And my final point of the night, and you don't have to hear about it anymore after this week for a few weeks.
I've
got my 5th in my list of my boys. I've got my number 5. It's Nico Hines. I just want to see him do well every week. When he goes well, I'm happy. When he doesn't, I get a bit sad. He's very likeable. Nico Hines in at 5. What do you think of that one?
Was Dylan Lucas in there or not?
Oh, I've lost my list, so someone's going to have to tell me. I'm sure he is. If he's not, Nico's ahead of him.
All right. Dylan Lucas has been dropped out of the Spies boys.
No. I had a 5th spot open.
You think you did. You're not sure if you did.
No, I'm not sure if Dylan Lucas was in the top 4 initially.
Who's ahead out of Lucas and Hines?
Nico, for now.
Yeah, so if Nico's come in at 5 and Lucas wasn't there in the 4, he's out.
Yeah, but if he was there, he's there.
Someone go back to a couple of weeks ago when Spy did his little list.
Autosave on Microsoft Word dudded me because I delete as I go and it's gone.
Let us know what Spy's list was. It was about a month back and we'll see if Dylan... If actually, no, don't, because then we're going to have to talk about this next week as well, and we just don't need it, guys. All right. Hot topics, most traded in and out players of the week. Number 1, Spy Scott Drinkwater, 750k, 78 point per game average, 132 points last week. He's got a break even of 30. I'm pinning him up against number 3 most traded in James Tedesco, 856k, an 86 point per game average, 128 points on Anzac Day with an 81 break even. My question, I think it's hard to knock either as a buy, Spy. What if you could only have one of them this week if you had neither?
If I could only have one, I'd take Teddy now and get Drinky later. The reason being, Drinky's just come off the dream matchup at home on Saturday for his big score. I wanted him, but I wanted him last week, not necessarily this week. He now runs into the New Zealand Warriors, who are defending well. Penrith are still Penrith. They're sucking at the moment, but they could turn up and they could reduce Scotty to a 20. We know they could.
It is in Townsville, but they could.
It is handy, but they're capable.
Yeah.
And then Manly, also in Townsville, who are up and down. They could be great defensively. They could be horrible. So then he doesn't play round 12. I just think last week was the perfect time to get him and lock him in. I'm happy to wait till after that first major buy round now, and prior to then him taking over a good run of games, just wait till around then to get him. I've no knock on getting him now. I just think the damage was done last weekend, and it's a potentially tricky 3 weeks leading into their buy. I think he's a decent buy, but don't get caught up in the 128 because I think it's a pretty dream matchup, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
I need to lend you that high vis vest that I got rid of last week, Spy. You've been very conservative this year, I reckon.
Yeah?
I reckon so.
Yeah.
Last year, you'd be sitting there going, Drinky on fire, Cowboys running hot, good run of games to go, and you would go on, I'm just getting him in because he can hurt me. You're feeling a little bit conservative.
Fair enough, and maybe it's hurting me a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm also conscious that he just got 130 with his matchup. I don't want to go, I'll get him now, then he goes okay. So
Why won't he do it again? He's in red hot form.
He's not playing the Titans. He hadn't scored above 80, had he?
I'll put this into there as well. So the Roosters have the bye next week for starters. Then after the bye, they come up against the Bulldogs in Sydney, obviously. And then round 12, we know that the Roosters have this fantastic bye period draw. They play the 3 major bye rounds and the 3 mini bye rounds. Guys, if you missed last week's episode, go back and have a listen to the start of the show. We've done a big topic around bye planning. There's also an article up on our site. Could even be easier for you to do that. But explains all of that. So misses round 10, bye round 11. Is he creeping into that Origin conversation?
No, it's Edwards for sure. As long as he's healthy. Yeah. As long as he's healthy, he'll be fullback. Look what we did last year. You can't change that.
I've got him as well.
That's not a knock on Teddy. That's just the fact that Edwards earned it last year.
I think it's still in Edwards as well, but Penrith...
I'm not as convinced as you, Spy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it should be Edwards, but...
New coach.
Laurie says he's picking on form. Edwards killed it against the Roosters, but other than that, it's been a pretty poor year for him.
Yep.
I want him. I think it should be Edwards, but I'm not certain that it will be.
I will say buy into Bulldogs isn't ideal, so it might depend a little bit on how you can cover him next weekend.
Buy into Bulldogs. Teddy's 856k with a break even of 81. Into a buy. Drinky's 750k. Far cheaper. Break even of 30. He's going up in price. The 132 in his rolling average. He's not going to get picked for Origin. He plays his next 4 games in Queensland, 3 of those of which are in Townsville. I reckon he's the buy.
Yeah, fair. But also he doesn't play around 12, definitely, because they got the bye, and Teddy does. So if you can only get one, I'd prefer Teddy in round 12 to hopefully go 130. Also worth noting that Scotty's highest score of the whole season prior to last weekend was 78. So whilst he's going really well, he's been consistent. That low score worries me in coming weeks. I think it could go either way on Drinky. He's a very interesting watch. Obviously, as an owner, happy days, roll with it. I'm not so convinced it's now time to jump on, just after his big score against the Titans.
Captaining him last week before anti-potting Nathan Cleary as skipper was so nerve-wracking. Yeah. I was like...
What was he on at half-time? Not
many. Like 30 or 40 or something.
And they went ballistic.
And then they went nuts. Like, it was open, you could feel it opening up and that, but it was
in the
like,
last 20.
To happen. And he always gets that last pass for the Cowboys, but it just kept being Tommy Dearden who had the 5 tries. Let it be Drinky.
He could have been 200.
Anyway, we
But I think it's really interesting. I'm not saying he's not a buy, but in my opinion, I reckon I'm just happy to maybe wait and pick him up after that round 12 match.
I'm a big chance, depending what happens with Ponga, to go Ponga to Teddy round 12, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully we can afford it.
Yeah, well, it cost $800,000. Number 2, Dylan Lucas, 646k, 78 point per game average, 47 break even. Probably not a lot to talk about, Spy. He's hard to knock, dual position.
Yep, get him in.
We think he's one of your boys. So.
Hammy risk, second game back, still a 10% chance of a reoccurrence. Thank you, Fizz. So, I mean, that being said, if you're just being conservative around the hammy, you could just get him next week to be sure.
I think I'm going to do that for what it's worth. I could get him this week and he was in my plans, but another little back rower has caught my eye, which will get you very intrigued.
Does he play on the other side by chance?
Kaipis Paul.
Yeah.
He does not intrigue me at all.
Have you seen his numbers this year? Go check him out.
Don't care.
Chat about it on Beers and Break Even.
Don't care about him.
decent.
I don't need to get into a conversation with Guru about Kai Pearce-Paul. I would not be doing that. I've spent the whole last year of doing that. But, Lucas, great buy. As you said, second week back from a hamstring injury, which was quite serious. It was out for 4 or 5 weeks. I'm happy just to wait. I see that as a bit of an antipod move going, all right, I still want him before the major buy period, but, the break-even's 47. He's not going to skyrocket in price. If he does the hammy again, I know it's an if and all that, but...
But of all injuries, that's the one that does happen at times.
So I'll be much more confident for that third week. Number 4, Robert Darby, 360k, averaging 55 for the season. He scored 135 last week, a negative 46 break-even. Big cash incoming. Few red flags though, Spy. Prior to that, scores of 26, 32, 48 and 34. What do you reckon?
I think no way. Based on what I said about Drinky. The only reason I'd do it is if I was desperately needing a cash injection, but... If he goes 25 and 25 again, he's not going to make that much money. And the Wales are decent defensively. Then it's Penrith. So, again, he scored well last weekend, but so did the whole Cowboys team.
He could.
It's risky.
I don't love it either. If he was 300k, different story, but 360 is an awkward price, isn't it?
Yeah, 300 or under, you can do it just as a genuine downgrade where you're freeing up all your cash, but it's a bit awkward.
You don't free up that much. Like if you're moving on a Jenkins or a Toyer or someone, or a Tamala, you're not actually freeing up that much cash. It can go wrong quickly. Robert Darby could come out and score in this Cowboys side that is running red hot at the moment on the wing with Drinky and Did and feed him. He could go pair of tries and make a shitload.
Oh, he could make 300k in 2 weeks. But
that's any CT, not cheapie, right?
Yeah, I'm prepared to back against him in this case with all the cheapies we've had. If you're desperate for a cheapie, then at least you know he's making some money.
And to quote Desi Creek, there was another one will emerge. Someone will get a start and start scoring some tries. So, yeah, don't mind it, but I don't love it.
Don't hate it, not for me.
If you're going someone to him to free up cash and that facilitates another big trade, I don't mind it. But don't do it for the sake of, Robert Darby's about to make 250k because he's far from confirmed. Yeah. Number 5, another cheapie I have a bit of an issue with, Hugo Savala, 233k. Spies 2RF halfback dual position, which is awesome. 22 point per game average, negative 11 break even. Actually, even on the 2RF halfback dual, halfback you want 2 of Jerome Hughes, Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines. So I don't actually...
You can assume halfback's not there. You're not going to flip him to halfback.
22 point per game average, negative 11 break even. He scored 60 odd last week. He's not goal kicking. The Roosters are up and down. I don't rate it.
No for me. The only reason it would be is, again, if you're downgrading, he is 233k.
Yeah.
So he's better than someone who's not playing.
He is, but...
And he played the buys, most likely, waiting for Sammy Walker.
But unlike Darby who has the 130 odd in his rolling average, like Savala, so you know he's going to make money at least. Savala's got a 65. Like, if he comes in as 20 this week...
I don't think you buy him for cash. I think you buy him just to free up cash from a downgrade. And then just a bloke who, sure, you can put him in during the buys. Yeah. They got a decent run. And if he happens to score a 50 or 60, you take it. But you do it with no expectation. It's just better than enough who's not playing. That's all.
100% it is. Yeah, I don't love the buy, but...
Just if it suits you. If it suits you.
It'd want to make sure the other trade you're doing to get a gun in is bloody good.
Yep.
Number 6, Bo Fermor, 533k, dual 2RF CT dub, 65 point average for the season, 132 on the weekend spy, and negative 18 break even. What are your thoughts?
I always like Bo. Dual position, works hard. He's got some attack in him. Titans, see if they play round 12. They don't, but they play 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
He's a real chance to play Origin as well.
He's a good player.
And if not, like starting, because he's versatile, that 18th man has his name written on as well.
Yeah. He does have a couple of scores around the 30 as well. He tends to shift wider when they need him. I wish he'd just stay in that back row position. So I think he's a good buy, not without some risk, but he's decent.
Next up, moving on to the side, this was spoken about Thomas Cant and Mawene Hiroti. There's a question coming up on King Gutho, so we'll avoid him for the moment. We've touched on him a little bit, Dylan Egan, but he's the 5th most traded out by 435k with a 55-point average, 30 points last week in reduced minutes. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on him?
I think you're mad to sell him.
63 break even.
Yeah, I think he's been awesome last week. Anytime there's a massive blowout and someone puts nearly 50 on your side, you can almost put a line through it. If it's happening weekly, that's different. I mean, he's just come off the back of a ton a couple of weeks ago and then a couple of decent scores, I'm more than happy just to roll him through and just see what he can do. If he warrants a trade out at 20k cheaper in a week or two or 30k cheaper, just cop that. It's fine. It's not that much money.
Yes. Not that he's as good as Jermaine Hopgood he could be. We don't know. But it reminds me of Hopgood a year or two ago, and he had this red-hot start, and then 1 week he got put on the bench and people just panicked and sold him because he'd been playing huge minutes. And then the next week he was back starting and they just said, we're giving him a bit of a breather because he'd played such big minutes, and he went on to earn a shitload more. So it won't necessarily happen with Dylan Egan. He could very well be a sell next week. I just think if he goes back to a 70 to 80 minute roll with good buy coverage, he's a hold through that period. So just give it another week, and I think it's worth sitting on. All right, trade plans, trades and skippers. Question from Cotties here, Spikes, I thought was very relevant, and I actually know that it's relevant to both of us, but Cotties asks, trades in this week don't look amazing. I'm thinking it's a good week to bank trades. What are your thoughts? For myself, Spy, I agree with him. It's the first week this year that I've looked at the trade-ins and the urgency to trade people out, and I've gone, there's nothing overly pressing. So we'll get to our trades very, very shortly. But I think, especially if you've gone hard on trades, and this is obviously different to every Supercoach team. Every team's different. It does look a good week to save a trade in my eyes.
Yeah, good week not to force it, I think. When I had a look through, I can often find 2, 3, 4 trades at this time of the season I could do.
Yeah.
I've only found one at the moment.
Yeah.
I've had a reasonable look leading into the podcast. Could be a week just to sit back. As long as you're reasonably happy with your side and you put out a good 18, then, hold fire and then load up again next week.
I don't think there's a lot of great buys this week. What are your trade plans?
At the moment, I've got Dylan Lucas in my centres. Been sort of targeting him for a while since he got back. Thomas Jenkins out. However, Jenkins is named and Thomas Cant isn't. He's in the back row though, so Jenkins isn't doing a lot for me at the moment. But we know
you flip Cant instead of Jenkins? Or?
Nah, I can't. Okay. But I'll look into it. But maybe Cant becomes another trade in the next week or two anyway.
Could you flip Cant to Lucas this week and he'll be in your back row and just sort of have a bit of a plan?
I think I could. So maybe I'll look around that.
Jenkins with, you mentioned Garner in there and McLean out. He could go bang, bang, cut the tries on the wing for the Panthers and it changes immediately.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Penrith could come good at any point.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that based on the team list today, which have changed things up a little bit. Outside of that, I really want Aaron Clark. I just don't know how I get him without 2 more trades. It's a bit awkward. So I'll have a little play around with that. Or I'll get Aaron Clark now and Dylan next week, post-Hemi review. That's the other. I could go just Cant to Aaron Clark and hold fire on Dylan Lucas for the moment. So maybe I'll end up doing that.
All right. I didn't realise you were that keen on Aaron Clark, so screw Guru and Beers and Break Evans. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it now. I didn't realise you were that red hot. So past 2 weeks, my stats aren't that different to yours anyway. 73-point average in his last 4 games. In those games, and that's since Dylan Walker's left.
Yep.
In those games, he has 1 try assist and no tries. Scores of 108 and 55 the past 2 weeks in 64 and 61 minutes respectively. There was 58 in base against the Knights. He offloads, he tackle bars, he's got a big work rate. He's everything you want in a Supercoach player. He's also dual position, 2 front row forward. Awesome for Tino Malawi and Corey Horsburgh owners. Yeah, you're very keen on him.
I'm keen. I want to grab him now. I could confidently play him. Again, a fantastic buy number. The Warriors schedule, I did have a look at it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's decent enough.
They play 12. That's not that good. They play around 12. The first major buy round, they miss 15 and 18.
That's okay. So I can get him for the next 6 or 7 weeks. Play the major buy, the mini buy after Origin, and then around 15, I'll hopefully flip him on for 650, all going well. So yeah, I'm pretty keen on him. Yeah,
I don't mind him as a buy. He was playing sub 50 minutes earlier on, but Dylan Walker gone. As I said, Tamari Martin on the bench, that's very good for him.
Might chat to our boy Walson Carlos.
Yeah, Walson's your man for it. I could be wrong, but for a player that's been in the game for a long time, I understand he's got a new role and whatnot, but I get that vibe of like a Tommy Gilbert or someone who, they're not plotters, but he could just so easily average 55 over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, which is all right. But like you achieving that much in the trade, look, he could come out and keep having a base of 50 plus, 55 plus, but realistically, he's based 58 last week. The 2 weeks prior, 49 and 45. Minutes have been decent.
Got to add on offloads and tackle bust though to that. He's very
good.
No, he's very good at
and
those.
he's busting tackles too. He's. I don't not like the trade. I'm not jumping to it.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty keen, but we'll need to do some review prior to a Magic round.
All right,
And that's where I'm at. What do you got?
So I'm looking at Thomas Cant out. I don't feel great about it. No, that's bullshit. I do. Britton Nickera. The time may be now.
Interesting.
So Nickera this season, the Sharkies play round 12 and round 15, the first 2 major bye rounds. He misses the first mini bye round, but Parramatta this weekend, a great matchup. Then he has Manly at Brookie into the Storm, that is at Shark Park. The draw's okay, good matchup this week obviously, but he's been down this year. His base has gone from 45 last year to 35, which is not a dramatic drop, but it's enough. Look, his output hasn't been fantastic, but hey, I've been watching him closely. We know he's a bloody good footballer. He looks fully fit. He could have had 2 tries and 2 line breaks on the weekend. I think one of them he cold dropped, one of them he was ankle tapped or something.
Oh.
It happens every week.
Nico dropped him inside.
Yeah, and he just...
Try assist incoming, spilled his lollies, bugger.
So he got sin-binned on the weekend as well to add into that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's echoing last season to me, right? And maybe it's wishful thinking, but after 14 rounds last year, same thing happened. He was averaging 54.8, then he exploded, hit 120 against the Dolphins, ended up finishing the season with a 70-point average. Has good bye schedule. The Sharks, albeit up and down a bit, they're a good football team. He's running off Nico Hines. Those two have a fantastic combination. He's dropped enormously on his starting price in the season. Yeah, break even of 90, I will note. So it's not like it has to be moved this week, but I think people are going to... I think in the next 3 to 4 weeks, he will have a big score. People are then going to take notice. They're going to look at that origin period schedule and they're going to jump on. I'm just sitting here going, I want to beat him to the punch. What are your thoughts?
Before you gave me a good rev up before, I might have been a bit conservative and gone, he's scoring okay with 5 tries. Any time he hasn't scored, he's yet to reach 50. But yet to reach 50 is also like 2 points off. So no try games like 47 to 49.
The 39 was a sin bin on the weekend.
Yep. So I'll assume that's 50 odd.
Yeah.
It's okay. Any week he doesn't score is okay. We know how many tries he's got in him, as you just said.
Secondly, he started the year at 680k. He's 550, so he's dropped 126k.
The new me, now you've razzed me, might be into him. I don't mind it. Like, it's a nice... When I say risky, it's not risky. Like,
it's not
in
price.
that he's going to score 20.
Yeah.
You just got to cop those 45s in there, but he's got tons as well because you know what happens when he gets hot.
He's risky if you pay 700k for him and he comes out and goes 45, yeah, shit, like that is not worth the value. If he does it at 555, you go, okay, bugger, like not great, but then you go, he plays round 12, round 15. We know how good he can be. He's averaged 70 points the last 2 years. Yeah, I just got to feel, I just like
It's a good pod play, and I think if you're feeling it, you need to do it. Short.
Yeah. Just the one trade for me at this stage, Spy. I've got about 250k in the bank moving into the week. The other one I was looking at was Cant to Lucas, but I just think I want to wait a week on Lucas with that hamstring concern and don't need to rush it. I also really want Dylan Lucas at CT dub, ideally. Not that it matters that much, but like this week I'm looking at playing, because I've got Olaquatu and Garrick on the bye. I have to play 2 weaker CT dubs. I want to strengthen that spot and not have to play a potential dud. So,
no, Garrick is phenomenal. What a Magic round present. When he scored that try, I didn't watch that game until nearly midnight on Saturday night because I was out of the bonfire. And he scored early, but it was such a good line. I was like, that's pretty good. And he was due one. And then scored 95 or something, which is fine.
Try as well.
It was nice. And he nearly did it again, and they just got his legs. I was like, whew.
Matty, trades and skippers.
Short answer, I have no idea. I think since the start of the show, I've been on my computer and I think I've undone changes, I think 3 or 4 times. Like in past few weeks, I've been pretty, as soon as the round basically ends and as soon as the team list come up, I'm pretty much set. But in short, I want to get rid of Cant and I want to get rid of Hiroti. I want Lucas. I want Fermor. I can definitely only get one of those. So based off what you just said about Lucas, I'll probably go Fermor. But
if you want them both, it's probably the safe play. But
yeah, so I'll definitely get one of them. I am trying to look at get both of them out, but yeah, I'm more at C at the moment.
Yeah, I think if you're planning on getting both in coming weeks, I think it just makes sense probably to get Fermor this week, especially if he's got a far lot. Well, Fermor's about to go up a ton of cash. So if you want both next few weeks, get him this week. But then if you're sitting there and I can only get one of them, well, don't let the,
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be getting both. I'll definitely be getting Lucas next week. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm looking at the at Hugo, but yeah, only to like free up a lot of cash, which is a serious option for me at the moment. Yeah. But the problem is I don't have enough depth in my back row, so I would have to play him this week. Which is a huge risk.
Good. Don't love that.
Yeah, so look, I'm all at C, but I'll figure it out by Friday.
We'll wait with bated breath.
Just one thing I also missed.
If you're at the sorry, Spy.
You're right.
If you're at the Caxton meetup on Friday, feel free to give me advice because I've got 3 hours until kickoff, so I'm all ears.
Perfect.
Just the Newcastle Knights getting back Adam Elliott and Saifiti. Just a couple of good quality middles. It all comes together now for the Knights, whether we're going to find out where they're at. And Matty, South Sydney this weekend, what do you think of their lineup with a few outs? Generally speaking.
We've had outs for the last 3 years. I'm desensitised to outs now. Seriously, they're a walking emergency room.
Yeah. Fair enough. Just the same old story.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really curious about that matchup. Captains VC. I'm just having a little look at Nico Hines, 6 o'clock Friday night in Brisbane.
Like it.
He's just starting to come alive the last couple of weeks. He was so close to 2 or 3 try assists more on the weekend.
Man, I reckon his best game in the last year was 1 year ago at Magic Round when he tore apart the Roosters. I think it was like 38-30 and he tore him to shreds. So
the confidence coming from that. Like he put Nicker over who clean dropped it. He put Hazleton over, except Galvin with the tackle of the year literally around his bootlace to save the game. And there was another one he went close as well. So he's just building.
It's coming.
And I just think it's a good free crack at VC because if he doesn't go well, I'm more than happy putting it on Haas or Terrell May.
Yeah, for myself, I don't mind the Nico shout at all, but I'm leaning towards Drinkwater VC against the Warriors. And there's good options like Pappy against the Raiders. I don't mind, but it's late in the round. What's that field going to be like after 8 games? I don't mind your call Spy this week of your high upside VC and then your captain on Haas or Terrell May. Haas against Penrith, I don't love it just because Ivan, can he find ways to shut down Payne Haas? Probably not, but it's Ivan
potentially.
Terrell May, my only concern with Terrell, who looks the obvious one against the Dragons, played 80. I know he's built differently this player. He played 84 minutes the other night.
But apparently he blew up and said, "Why'd you take me off?"
Know.
Obviously in jest, not a proper blow up. Just I'm sweet. I don't need to come off.
With the matchup, probably Terrell May is the safer one.
And just good point on Pappy. That's Ryan Pappenhausen. The Raiders worry me a little bit because they're a big pack. They're just the chance to bully him a little bit, and maybe he doesn't run as much.
And the Storm pack, for that matter.
Yeah. I've seen Pappenhausen play the Raiders before and not run a lot just due to the game style. Doesn't mean he can't do a lot of damage with the ball in attack, but I think there's more risk this year.
If they lose the middle, the Storm, which they could against that Raiders pack, it's going to limit his opportunities.
Could be a tougher
massively.
night. Yeah.
Spy, a few questions before we wrap it up. One from Trev Stead. What percentage ownership, it's a great question, would be classed as a pod player? A pod, a point of difference player. He's working on 10% now. This is obviously entirely subjective, but when you're looking for a pod, what ownership are you looking for?
All right. I'll go a little bit general. First thing I do is filter it to the top 10% of players. Just gives a good idea of...
Top 10% of overall ranked coaches.
Yep, it's in the tool there, and that just tells me who's actively playing and looking at it every week rather than... the thousands that would have dropped out over the year. Firstly, not a pod as such, but anyone under 50% is not majority owned. So say they're 44%, I'll still go, okay, that's 56% of the top players don't have him. So I'm happy to get on board that, and I think it's good. If that's going to skyrocket to 75 in the coming weeks, it's a little bit different. You can keep an eye on that. But if they're hovering around that, I'm like, okay, that's sweet. I even look sometimes and go, he's only 60% owned. That's still 40% of people that don't have him up the top there. In terms of real pod territory, honestly, in the top 10% of coaches nationwide, probably anything sub 30 is decent. I think that's fine. Again, that's 70% plus that don't have him. So that's probably where I sit. Megapod, under 10% is megapod.
Yeah. For myself, mate, I sort of look for a pod at sub 20%, even like potentially sub 15, but sub 20% for a pod. And if I'm looking at that mega or super pod, anything sub 10 or sub 5% there, very low ownership. I'm just scrolling down, trying to find a little, fiddle-dee-dee. Britain Nickera, 2.2% ownership.
Britain.
That spy is a super pod and gets me very excited. All right.
Val Holmes, 11%. Love that. Jacob Preston, 18. They're my two boys.
I want Val Holmes. The further it gets, the closer we get to Origin and games we missed,
he's going to be responsible for my breakout week. Let's do it.
Yeah, he's got a 140 loading at some point. I just want to be there for it. Spy, next question from Joseph Youssef, speaking of the Dragons. He's ranked 18th overall, fell from 4th last week, so he is flying. Hopefully he's not at Magic Round because he'll be on that bloody pedestal that I was...
Straight, he'll be on the bigger throne.
Yeah. You get 10 minutes, mate, then you give whoever's ranked below you a go. After last week's doozy, do I hold on to Gutho or move ASAP? You're a Gutho owner. It's the big question of the week, mate. We've held it off. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're holding by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happily holding, not without some nerves that he might do a Kalen Ponga and maybe just lose not that much cash. But look, what do we got? Tigers
at Suncorp, good matchup.
Yeah.
I know. The Tigers got the best defence in the world.
They're going okay, though. I don't think teams are scoring overly well, Supercoach-wise. But it's at Suncorp. Hope it's not too wet. Warriors the week after, I don't love, but it's at win, which is good. Obviously, the Warriors travelling back-to-back weekends. Brisbane into the bye, but I sort of just think I'll be holding him through that Origin period without panicking too much. Short term, just a little bit nervous about how things play out. His base is down a fair bit, so I have no issue if people want to move him on, especially to someone like a Drinkwater if you're in attack mode there. For me, it's a theme of my year and it's going to define it. I'm just not trying to sell blokes too early and just throw some faith in them. So they need to start repaying me, especially in the fullback slot.
It's a tricky one,
it's
especially
tricky.
with Drinky exploding. But, I mean, that's the fullback position, right? Gutho could put 140 on the Tigers and Drinky could get 50.
Drinky could get 30, mate.
You don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, and that's the lesson I learnt last year. It just happens so much. We'll see where we land. That's the big question. But back yourself in whichever way you want to go. I mean, if you hold him through this week with a break even of 129, you're probably just holding, aren't you? Bit of a ponga. Hold him through Origin, I think.
Well, I haven't done my plans in terms of fullback roulette through Origin because so much can change in the next month. But in coming weeks, I'll look at a fullback rotation plan because Gutho round 13, covers round 13, first mini buy, and then he plays 15 and 18 the next two major buy rounds. So depending on what's happening across the board, he's on my radar. But by that point, he should be quite cheap, which is nice. Next question coming in from, this is a good one from Chris. Eliesa Katoa and Drome Hughes, are they still targets despite missing the first two major buy rounds for Melbourne? It's a good point because it's not ideal.
Now that I've come this far without Eliesa Katoa, no, I don't know if he is. Again, I don't want to get caught too much up in the buys though. Even if you were to buy him round 13 against the Titans and Hughes, I'll tie him in together.
Yeah.
Sure, you miss round 15, but if you can cover that, you can get him for 13, 14, round 16, 17, 18, 19. That's pretty handy, but just maybe getting him in round 13, those boys might be the options versus the Titans. A little bit frustrating that they missed those two major ones to start.
Yeah, definitely by round 13, I think you want him.
It's when you want it. Because, it's
Titans and Cowboys.
It's not all about the buys, obviously. There's games around the buys where you want to bank their points.
Like Eli Katoa, he can ton on any given week. He hasn't done it this year, to be fair, but I've got no knock on buying Eli Katoa now or a bottomed-out Drome Hughes, if that's how you want to sway. As I said, I learned a bit of a lesson last year. Don't go too ham on that buy period in overplan. So he's a gun. He'll be the best in the position or one of a few. So I've got no knock on
And my
buying.
negativity around now isn't like, don't do it. It's just, it's a shame that they don't play 12.
Like if they played 12, it'd be high up.
It'd be 100%. Now it's like, do you get him now? Sure. Or do you wait to 13? That's the decision.
I'm from Nashi. Is Tommy Dearden still a viable downgrade from Jaden Campbell to free up cash? Tommy Dearden went to bonkers on the weekend.
Yeah.
Spy, what do you reckon? He's in that troublesome 5'8" position. People aren't real sure. Origin is the concern. He could be the Maroons 6, 14, 18.
I think he's definitely an Origin somewhere.
Bit of somewhere.
Look at his average points there. They're 58 to 61 every year. Again, this comes back to what I've said a few times. They crushed the Titans. They broke their soul and destroyed them in the second half. Don't think you can rely on that as the norm. He will have some good scores in him, but got some pretty low ones in him as well. Start of the year, 18, 28 and 21. Yeah. They weren't good then, admittedly, and they're on the up, but I'd never be playing him with all that much confidence. So not for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, if there was no Origin risk, I'd say sweet, do it and hold him through that period, but you're not buying a historically average 70, 75 averaging gun where you go, you know what, he missed games over Origin, but he's worth it. You bring the bloke who, as you said, Spy, he averages 58, 61 the past 4 years. He's got low scores in him.
And that can be 25 or 105. Like it's the weeks you get 25 hurt. So yeah, I'm not huge on him. Not for me.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up, Spy, with one last question, and we'll go from Gus Winfrey. Kiraz or Drinkwater, who is the priority buy?
Ooh, does the Bulldogs play round 12? I'm starting to talk about that a lot this week. Let's just clarify.
Yeah, they do. They play the first two, I think.
No buys coming up. Gold Coast this weekend. Kiraz would be my answer then. But depending on your side, if you've got a fullback or a flex spot there that's wide open for an obvious trade, that's when I think Drinky might be a good buy. But upgrading Kiraz in your centres and then holding on to a Gutherson, I'd much rather Gutherson and Kiraz. Yeah,
3 major buy rounds for the Doggies, 12, 15 and 18, which is obviously a big one there. So we'll go one more from Tel.
Good week to get Kiraz.
Yeah, but he's got the higher break even. Drinky's about to explode in... not necessarily explode in money. Break even's about 30, so I'm not as convinced as you, Spy. They've got a lot out this week as well. 3 players suspended.
Yeah, I just meant in terms of teams to get him against, you'd prefer the Titans than many others.
It is a bloody good week. Yeah. Last question from Tel Craig, your story. He's definitely one of your fringe boys, Spy. Blaze Talangi, is he a buy at 5?
Blaze. I don't think so. It's not sure. He's got the spot sewed up. If Penrith lose again, he could be gone by next week. Can run the footy though. We know how good he is with the ball in hand.
He's 2 tackles away from being dropped, is my
literally. His upside literally could be anything, and at some stage I think he will be, but I just think 2 games then the bye. Let's see how he's tracking come round 12. They play that first major bye. I just don't think you need to get him now.
The negatives far outweigh the positives.
Yeah. The only reason I'd be saying yes is because I've seen what he can do, and I know what he's capable of, but I just don't know if it's now.
He could also be doing it in New South Wales Cup next week.
Yeah. So reluctant no. Sad no.
Yeah. All right, guys, that'll do us for this week's episode of the SC Playbook podcast. We will see you, hopefully, if you're attending Magic around 3 p.m, the Caxton Hotel car park. Spite, start hydrating now, mate. I know what you're like on these big weekends. You're already on.
Lock me in for skipper. No need to VC. Bring it on.
Right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you over the weekend. If we don't see you there, have a great weekend.